the corner where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We touched down from a higher plane. Why you landed here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We about to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys, Joe, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because you done on the warfare.
This episode of Chief Concerns is brought to you by betonline.ag. Hey there, Marcus Dash here from Chief Concerns. Just want to comment and say BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for football, baseball, boxing, golf, and much more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Monday Morning Tight End on Monday night. Today we're going to be talking about the Week 15 grades with the New England Patriots, and we'll also have a special guest come on from Arrowhead Live. JD, most of you guys are on Twitter in the chat right now. JD and the main person behind Arrowhead Pride have been going back and forth today about a role of a wide receivers coach, kind of highlighting, I guess, talking about Connor Embry's role on kind of the development of the rookie receivers. And also some of the young guys in the room. But JD, we got comments here right now already talking about what I wanted to get into tonight before we start the great show. Okay. And that's talking about the move of putting Sky Moore to the reserve spot and bringing on elevating Justin Ross. And JD, I'm going to put on my Johnny Mathis for a second and do "It's beginning to look a lot like Rossmas."
Oh.
I don't know if you can tell the background there. I got it's beginning to look a lot like Ross Smith's little graphic back there.
Oh, I see it. I see it back there. I got you. Oh.
But JD, what are your thoughts on the whole move of putting Sky Moore in this reserve spot? I mean, apparently he had knee swelling. I don't know. I mean, he played yesterday, but he's a reserve guy, and Justin Ross is going to be elevated to the active 53 man. What does this tell you?
What does it tell me?
What does it tell you?
Tell me he's hurt. It's about all I can tell. So if he's on the reserve spot, hold on, let me get my mic here. Maybe you can hear me. Now, if he was on the reserve, that's probably the reason is, he's probably hurt. And so if he's not being utilized and they feel like you might want to create another spot for a guy and bring in Justin Ross in, then that'd be the way to do it. So, my thing is, when a guy's going out, I'm not celebrating him going out at all. I mean, if he's hurt, he's hurt, right? If he's on IR, there's a reason because of it. But here's the thing, we still need to get something out of the guys that's going to be there. So that's the bottom line. I always said this too. I said, Sky Moore he's going to be a project. He's going to be a guy that you're going to take some time to develop, just kind of getting the speed of the game, finding exactly what he can do and what he can do well. And so I haven't changed my position on that whatsoever. I think he's a talented guy. I think the way we utilize him wasn't necessarily fits his skill set. But him being on IR, man, essentially, it's kind of what it is, right? So, that's pretty much all I got to say about that.
So earlier Andy Reid had a little media gathering today, and he talked about, they asked him about what Justin Ross is going to come on board, and he said, I have to talk to Brett Veach about that, on how that's going to happen. So, and then we also, in the same press conference, he's talking about getting more snaps for Richie James. I mean, it seems like they're just trying to, and you're also seeing less and less reps for Scott Moore going into today, or going into yesterday. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, yes, he could be injured. Yeah, that could be true, but I mean, may also just try to open up room for another guy to see what somebody else has,
So you think it's something nefarious? Think they're trying to hide that he's not actually hurt, or what are you saying? I'm trying to understand where you're going with it.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I think. I think it's that they don't want to say we're moving to the reserve role because they could kill any future value he may have for himself and any trade value in the future for him also. So the two things there, and then also you're making room for Justin Ross while also keeping Richie James there because who they want to see a little bit more. And I feel like they've already seen what they've seen from Sky Moore, and he hasn't really brought what they thought he was going to bring as being a second round pick. So maybe that's where I'm going with it, and I think a lot of people out there think the same as well. Just try to see what else we have in that wide receiver room to kind of produce some more.
It could be. I don't know. The thing is, we're not really getting, and they're not really going to show their hand about what it is that they're actually doing. If that's the case, why don't they just go ahead and just do that? But you can make a case for that for sure. My thing is, I think Richie James is still needed to play anyway, regardless of that. And so him being on IR or not, it just takes him out of the equation, but I'm still looking at when we lean on, right? Rashid Rice. If we're sitting there saying Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Richie James, and MVS. To me, that's the pecking order. When you filter guys in, I think you need to get something out of Richie James, and I still think that you still can get some things out of Kadarius Toney. I think part of the problem why we haven't been developing, or he hasn't developed as much, is because he hadn't been in. You haven't utilized Kadarius Toney like you should. So that could be a lot of it. He's probably trying to catch up to speed where he feels like he needs to be in this season, right? Yeah. He wants to contribute. And so I think with him contributing like he is, and some of the problems, this is what ends up happening, right? He's trying to do too much. He's trying to press. He's trying to make plays. And sometimes when you try to make plays, then instead mistakes happen. So I think it's really what the case is as far as where this is with everything. But who knows? Who knows, man? Look, they're not, like I said, they're not going to show their hand. So no, right? We can speculate all we want to. About what their intentions are. We won't know that until the season's over. Until we just know the parts, the moves that they do make. We just know those are the moves that they made, right?
Yeah. So. No, I agree. I'm just excited to see, and not that I'm excited because if he does have a knee injury, if what they're saying it is, obviously I hope he recovers and does well. But I'm excited to see we actually finally get to see what we have in Justin Ross, and we also get to see what we have in Richie James. More room for other guys to try to show something, maybe get some more reps, and so they can show off. But like we mentioned,
so now I was just going to address. So like I see right here, Vegas Chiefs Kingdom. I think Richie James deserves more snaps than Ross. I agree. I don't understand why Ross is so overhyped. I understand he has some great practices, but fans and Chiefs media treat him as if he's a star, or he will be a star. So.
I mean, his flashy highlights all throughout last year and this preseason. I mean, that's where the hype comes from. And also, when you talk about before his injury that he had at Clemson, that guy's a first-round pick. So, I mean, yeah, there is reasons and logic behind the hype that he has. Obviously, that was put aside a little bit for the legal troubles he got into, but, now he's back and ready to go. So we mentioned in the beginning, JD got into a little Twitter, little back and forth with the man behind Arrowhead Live. And a lot of people don't even know the man behind Arrowhead Live. We're going to get to see him right now. And it's Grant from Arrowhead Live is joining us to talk about the role of a wide receivers coach. Grant, what's going on, man?
How's it going, guys?
Grant, what's going on? How you doing, brother?
How's it going, man?
Good. Good meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys as well.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot online. I don't want to call it a spat. I mean, I think it's a friendly discussion. Right. I think those are healthy to have, especially on Twitter. I know people, like to get aggressive and stuff, but I mean, that wasn't my intention at all.
I agree with you. I don't think, like people are saying, I'm not looking to try to get a win or anything like that over anybody. I'm trying to inform a little bit more as far as like the intricate parts of how things work inside the locker room. So
yeah,
but go ahead.
And I mean, straight up, I don't know as much as you've been in it. I mean, that's clear, but at the same time, I have family that coaches in the NFL. I have family that has previously coached in the NFL, a family that's still coaching, a couple friends that have played in the league as well. And, like I said, knowing it firsthand, being there firsthand is completely different than, what I have experienced, growing up and seeing it through family and whatnot. But, with that said, I think we're mostly in agreement on what the role of a wide receiver coach is. I think we just differ on to what degree they're helping these guys throughout the season. So I think the point of emphasis that we made, was on Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is a 6-year NFL vet, and like you said, they're going to sit there and watch film and say, hey, in this situation, you're catching the ball over the shoulder. You need to try to catch the ball this way, or you need to try to catch the ball that way. I'm not disagreeing that happens.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is Connor Embry is the wide receiver coach, is not teaching Marquez Valdes-Scantling how to catch a football. Going through film, breaking it down, saying, hey, this is what you need to do instead of this in that situation. They're just reinforcing what Marquez Valdes-Scantling should already know. And in my opinion, if Marquez Valdes-Scantling drops a pass on a back shoulder fade or whatever, and it's because of his hand placement or it's because of the way that he turned or whatever, or his leverage on the DB, if he doesn't know by the time he gets to the sideline what he did wrong in that situation, in my opinion, that's a problem. He is a $12 million a year player.
Yeah.
If it has to take to the film room before he realizes that, he reached for the ball the incorrect way, that's a problem to me. Those are things that should be reserved for a guy like Sky Moore, who came from a smaller school and doesn't necessarily know the intricacies of the game that, NFL veterans have. I can understand where Embry plays a role in developing a guy like Sky Moore, and it's clear that hasn't happened. But at the same time, I personally believe a guy either has it or he doesn't. And 99% of the time, a dude comes into the league, you can watch him for 5 games into the year. We knew with Rashee Rice that he was capable of doing what he's doing.
Grant?
Can you hear me? Yeah. You kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I think your video is frozen, but I think we can still hear you.
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I think we can hear you. Yeah. You were saying something about Sky Moore, or was the last part you was making? I don't know. You went out on.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Doing the Chief Concerns podcast from the car, not advised.
Yeah.
Well, while we wait for him to get back.
Okay. So a few points on what he said, and I'm actually going to challenge him on. For one, I do believe, like, even if MVS is a 6-year player, MVS still needs a coach to teach him on the things that he's doing wrong. And sometimes you need to kind of reinforce the things that he needs to understand on particular things. Now, here's the thing. MVS came from a different system. So now what you had to do is you got to help him develop in the system that he's in now. So he goes from Green Bay to where he is at this moment with the Chiefs, and he has to be able to develop in this system that Andy them have. Now, take in his second year. Now, not only is he developing in Andy's system, now Matt Nagy comes in and he does his little thing. He puts his spin on things, okay, which may be a totally different philosophy of what Bieniemy and Andy had, okay? Now, I know there's some carryover there, but Matt Nagy may have plays that he likes to run better with MVS. He may have a whole different vision about what he wants to do with MVS than what Bieniemy wanted to do last year with it. That is player development. One, that's on the coach. That's on all the coaches. That's on the wide receiver coach, and it's on Matt Nagy, okay, in that room. And so him being an offensive coordinator, he's got to tell the guys what his vision is, right? He's got to make sure that the guys understand a clear role of what he wants them to do and how he wants them to perform. So that's one challenge against that. Number two, when you're saying Sky Moore coming from a smaller school, I don't think that dictates on what quality of coaches that you have. I think can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there.
So I was talking about Sky. Well, I was talking about MVS, and I was talking about MVS actually being in the system coming from Green Bay to come into Andy's system, and not only just Andy's system, but he was in the enemy system last year to now Matt Nagy's. So there might be a whole different vision as far as like what Matt Nagy may want him to do and develop, as opposed to what Bieniemy wanted him to do last year. Okay, and even Andy.
Right.
And then also too, the number challenge is also, well, when a guy is running certain plays, okay, and a coach is letting him know he's just eyes on the field. He's letting him know, hey, you did this wrong. All right. You may feel like you're doing something, and you may feel like you're getting in the window, but you actually wasn't. Well, you may feel like you're getting leverage on a guy, you're actually not. And so when I'm talking to you, like I would think Greg Lewis and all those guys actually who was there, maybe talking leverage, okay, a whole different type of technique where maybe Connor may not be doing. I'm not sure. I don't know what Connor's teaching him. I'm not saying that whatsoever, right? But sometimes MVS may be feeling like, yeah, he's getting his grasp back, but he may not be. So that's why you see him and PM15 not on the same page. Well, to me, I'm not putting everything on Connor, but what I do know is it's just not MVS. There's other wide receivers who's not on the same page with Pat, and that takes time to develop. So this happens not only during the offseason, it happens in season as well. So even in practice, okay, and I don't know who your family is as far as where they've been coaching in the NFL and whatnot, but I do know this as being a coach myself, okay, and being coached by the best coaches in the NFL. Every single player who wants to become better takes to coaching, and so we have a great episode on with Al Saunders and Larry Kirksey. Al Saunders said this. Al Saunders said that his coach, I can't think of who he was talking about at the time, legendary coach, was telling Al, well, you think that you're coaching. You think that you're doing a good job. He says, I want you to be able to get in those guys. So Al said he used to run with the wide receivers on every single snap. This is in season. I've seen this myself, okay, when he was the offensive OC. He's not even the wide receiver coach. He's the offensive coordinator. He's running down the field with Eddie Kennison, Johnny Morton, the Snoop, and all those guys to let them know what they did right and what they did wrong. This is in season. So everything is a coaching point each day in and day out. Now, obviously, you go through with your skill set to catch footballs, right? Well, a guy might be bad, putting his hands a particular way to catch a ball. So a coach may be like, let me correct these, okay? Because what you're doing sometimes catching the football, you're catching it like this, as opposed to I want you to catch it like this front up, right? Those are things that a coach should be telling the player, okay? Because he can see things that you need to be fine-tuned with. And what I see a whole lot right now coming out of college is these guys are not being prepared when they leave out of college and come into the NFL. They're just not, okay? You see a lot of like the race car offenses that you have. You see cars being held up for guys. You are literally telling a guy what to do. So he doesn't have to think anymore, okay? When it comes to the NFL, it's a totally different thing. It's more complexities in the defense that they have to see against the guys that's outside of it. When the defensive coordinator is looking at a guy, he's looking at his weakness, he is telling that DB, when I'm studying film, I want you to find out what MVS's weakness is on every single play, and we're going to play with it, okay? That's what a coach is going to do. A good coach will do that, right? Now, I'm not going to the level of how good a coach Connor is or how not is, right? I'm not putting it all on him because a lot of it is on the player, and I agree with you. A lot of it is on MVS. This is your 6th year, okay? You should be able to adopt certain systems, okay? Yeah, you have talents. Yeah, you've been able to stress the defense, but we need to see you now all of a sudden in this system turn that on, okay? John Gruden was my offense coordinator in Philadelphia. John Gruden told me, Jason, look, you run a 4.5 40. You have a 40-inch vertical. You're fast. You can do all these different things. What I need for you to do is not be a robot in our system. I need for you to take your talent that you have and mold it into the system we got, okay? I want to be able to utilize every athletic ability that you have into our system, right? And that's something that I had to learn. It's the same thing with terminology. So after he leaves, another OC comes in. It's a whole different terminology I have to learn, right? So part of that is in the development as well. So the cases I'm making is this, right? Because I was just telling you, well, why is it that he looks like he's regressing? Okay. Why is it that he only has 20 catches this year? Why is it now the guy that you said, right? We know this is making $12 million a year. Now is like he's fourth on the depth chart, right? I mean, he's coming in, he's not really getting no throws to him. And why is that? So I know there's, and I think it's multiple things. I don't think it's just one thing. It'd be wrong if we put everything on Connor, because I would never do that. I know his dad, because I know he comes from good stock. I know his dad would teach him how to coach, but he's still learning. He's a young coach. He's still learning.
Right.
I would say for somebody that is integral in what you do with a young group, okay, and I'm talking about MVS being an elder statesman, a young group like that, I would want to get an experienced coach to bring in to teach these young guys what it means to develop, how to be a pro. That's why me and Marcus was pushing so hard. I mean, to try to get an experienced wide receiver in, an older guy, to teach these guys what it means to be a pro, how to get open, things you need to do. Like, hey, when I'm sitting over here, we had, like, when me and Tony was in the room, the Titans room, we would tell when young guys come in, we'd teach them how to get open. Well, it was easier for us. We didn't necessarily need a coach because we had it down. We knew what to do. Our communication on the field, that's almost like, I would liken it to how PM15 and Travis are. Like, me and Tony was on such a wavelength for that offensive line that was killing everybody. We were on such a wavelength with calls and everything that we needed to do that we would be able to adjust in play. I remember Mike Solari said to me, he said, "Jason, how did you know to do that?" I said, "Well, I knew Casey was pulling around, and I knew where Casey was supposed to be, and I knew if I wasn't going to be there, Casey would take my man. I would just take his. I'd adjust and take his." But that's playing over the years with each other, right? That's playing with each other and understanding. That's development. It takes time to develop those things. And so that was kind of my point, that, yeah, it takes coaches to get to that place. Coaches need to bring that out of players. I don't care if you're a 6-year player. I don't care if you're a 9th-year player. If a 9th-year player has bad habits, a good coach will bring that out of him. He says a good coach would say, "Look, you know what? This is your 8th year playing in NFL. You caught 60 balls so far. You're a 90-catch player, okay? You're a 90-catch player. I got to bring that 90-catch out of you somehow, okay? You're not going to be able to do it yourself. If you've been practicing a particular way to only get 60 balls, you shouldn't be satisfied. A great coach is sitting there telling you, I want to get 90 to 100 balls. There's no reason why you shouldn't do that. And here's why I should change, okay? That's what a good coach does. And that's what I was talking about, like Al Saunders, Larry Kirksey. Those guys, they're going to get it out of them. So 6-year or a young guy like Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, like, we got a young wide receiver core. We do. Now, everybody made the case about Rashee Rice and why he's developing, why he's clicking. And I said, absolutely. But we knew Rashee Rice was talented when he came in. We knew he had that ability about catching the football and getting yak yards. Now, I didn't know he was that strong as he was, but Sky Moore, he's run,
Rice.
Yeah. He's running a lot of slants and a lot of wide receiver screens. That's what he's doing. He ran the 5-yard out. So when I looked at this game, when I'm grading these guys, and I'm looking at the route combination, the tree he's running, he's not doing anything extensive. He's not doing an extensive route tree. He ran the 5-yard out. He ran a slant. He runs a wide receiver screen, and he's getting yak yards, right? Because I think that's his strength. But he has so much more that he can do. When we see the back shoulder throw to Rashee Rice, we should do more than with that. That means he has that ability. We need to tap into that. And I think you would agree on this, that we have guys that's very talented. We need to do more with these guys with the talent that we have. Okay?
Right. And
Like go ahead.
No. So I was just going to say, I mean, I think this year especially, we've kind of had an issue. I don't know. I mean, you've played with Andy Reid. You played with Andy Reid very, very early, and I think it was his first year as a head coach in Philly.
Yeah.
So you know what he's about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could just be that he's playing guys in their, trying to get the most out of them, get them comfortable with their weaknesses at this point in the year, and then open things up in playoffs. We've seen him open things up in playoffs, right? We see him do it every single year. Things change in playoffs. The playbook changes in playoffs. They run more complex schemes and everything, right? Now, with a guy like Rashee Rice, for example, he was a great jump ball catcher in college. That was his strength. You go back and watch his film. He dropped a lot of balls in college.
Yeah, right.
You go back and watch his tape. the dude dominated on jump balls. I mean, best in the country, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him one jump ball all year long. Not one. You know, we saw the one back shoulder throw. That showed a little bit of physicality. But again, the dude's got a 42-inch vertical. We're not throwing in jump balls. A guy like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think I mentioned to you that I think he's running, you know, at the X about 15 or 20% more this year than he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're running in the X, you got to be able to beat press coverage, right?
Yeah.
You know that. And I'm not watching every single play that Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I go back and watch games, but I'm not breaking down every play from every guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I don't know specifically if he's beating that press coverage. I don't know specifically what the problem is, but that has never been his comfort zone, beating press coverage. He played in the slot in Green Bay. He played in the slot more than he did last year, you know, so they're playing them outside of their comfort zone. And that can only make me think that, you know, they're trying to get these guys comfortable doing things. Sky Moore, the dude's playing on the outside way too much. Put him in the slot, let him work underneath. Why is he running down the field? When we've seen him try to catch over-the-shoulder passes, we've seen him try to catch fade balls. He can't do it. He can't track the ball in the air, right? And that might just be who he is, right? He might just not have that skill set. Like you said, that's something that they can work on and develop, you know, over time, but it's not going to happen from week to week. And they keep doing it. They keep doing it over and over again, you know, and it's clear that, you know, Kadarius Toney, we've seen him work, you know, on the boundary. We've seen him, you know, utilize his skill set and his ability to contort his body and make, you know, crazy catches. But for some reason, he's got an issue going over the middle and, you know, reaching for balls that are maybe a little bit behind him or a little bit in front of him. And he can't seem to reel those in, but they keep putting him in that situation. Now, like I said, I don't know what they're doing. If they're just trying to get guys comfortable doing things that, you know, they're not used to doing. But the issue that I have is, for some reason, somebody defaulted and just said it's Connor's fault. Like, everybody was saying fire Connor, right?
Yeah.
He's a first-year coach too. He's learning as well on
learning.
The job. He is learning as we go here, right?
Right.
And so I have a problem with people just defaulting and saying, you know, fire this guy. Andy Reid put him in that position. He moved Blameyer out of that role into another role and put Embry into that role, right?
Right.
The dude didn't play wide receiver in college, right? He's never coached wide receiver at the pro level, and he puts him in there this year. He did the same thing with Lewis whenever he moved him from wide receivers coach, which he played, to running backs coach, and then he got a job. He got a promotion elsewhere, right?
Yes.
So I trust Andy Reid to put these guys, these coaches, in the right situation to get the most out of the players. If this is becoming a problem, and I mean, you can speak on this. Blameyer is the pass game coordinator.
Yes.
Is he in those film breakdowns, or is he elsewhere doing something else? Is he in film with these guys?
He's in film with the guys on 7-on-7. And so you have different meetings that everybody goes to. And I will say this. So even Andy could be like, well, he's hoping Connor would develop, because Connor's been around. He's been on defense a little bit. He's been on offense, but he was an offensive quality guy, right? So I mean, he's in all the meetings. He's the one that's breaking down all the film. He's the one that runs the defensive practices, okay? He gets all the stuff around for the coaches on the things they need to do. And he still has to learn his style about how he's going to be forceful to get things out of players, okay? Like you said, that's still developing. And not saying that Connor won't become that guy, okay? It's just saying he may not be that guy right now. Like you said, he's still learning at this moment. He's still learning. And so I would say, like Greg Lewis, the difference with Greg is, Greg played in the NFL. He's been in the meetings with all those coaches. So the same thing, like I coach wide receivers in college. The reason I know a lot about wide receiver is because the wide receivers are in 7-on-7 with us. Not to mention, I'm out there practicing. I would listen to Charlie Joyner, the things that we would do. So we would go over and catch footballs with Charlie too. So Charlie's would come over and come coach us as well, the tight ends, because we catch the ball as well. So I'm listening and learning what the coaches are telling the other guys. You think Charlie Joyner had to tell Eddie Kennison what to do and Johnny Morton? Yeah, he did. He coached him up. He coached Eddie if his feet wasn't right and the timing was off, he still helped him out. Now Eddie could run a 4.43 speed. Johnny could catch anything that was thrown to him, but they still had to develop. He had to make sure these guys were still on a high level and keep developing, right? And so I would know that coaches, I don't care who it was, if you wanted to be great, you as a coach, you would make sure a guy would practice certain things ad nauseum. Okay. So guess what, MVS? If you're not having a good time, and I would take away from your point, MVS, he was a deep ball guy. He was an ex-receiver in Green Bay. That's not new to him. That's not new to him. He's just playing position he played before he was in Green Bay. We was throwing, he was brought in to be the deep ball receiver, and we're not throwing it to him. We got Justin Watson throwing the ball to Justin Watson on deep ball. And without a doubt, that should be MVS's ball. Without a doubt, okay? But the thing is, when we're sitting over here and we're talking about the development, because I think, and I agree with you, this ain't all on Connor. Shoot, I don't even know. I wouldn't even say what percentage is on Connor. I'm just saying he's part of he has a hand in it. And I'm using also, too, what Andy said. Andy's saying this. So we all got a hand in this. And he's true. He's right. Andy can see the things he's done wrong. Andy can see that maybe he's like, maybe I wasn't quite, that was the wrong play. Okay. He said about the same thing, offensive line. Maybe I should have ran a different play with this. I owe them one. Right. And so he's hoping that guys are grasping things, concepts, and all of that while he's going through it. Okay. These guys are over here trying to develop. I think that a lot of the woes that we see in that wide receiver room just has to do with a compilation of things. Okay. System, maybe guys not developing, getting particular concepts, getting open, understanding particular things, being on the same page. And maybe somewhere where Connor, where you got such a young guy trying to help out, trying to get his voice heard. Okay. So we got to understand that. Okay. Because it's not one of these things that just will happen over time. I think people are looking for things like that to happen. It's different if I had an older wide receiver, if I had a Larry Kirksey in that room and the guys are still doing this, then I'll be like, okay, that's a different thing. If it was a Greg Lewis, then that'd be something else different. It's the same thing. Like I know you were saying, and somebody else said this about Tyreek Hill. Well, did they help Tyreek develop? David Culley and Greg Lewis? Absolutely, they helped him develop into a wide receiver.
Right.
That's a reason
he was changing position. He played running back in college.
Yeah.
And lined up in the slot a little bit at West Alabama. But he was a running back. They had to develop that guy, right?
They had to develop him. Right.
Yeah.
And so I want everybody to understand exactly how important it is to have a position coach that is doing a job, they're holding guys accountable. And so I was on a phone talking to another guy that I played against, and I brought it to him. What I was like, man, they don't believe that position coaches are important. He was like, what? And he just went in and he was like, look, I had Bill Parcells, and he had his coach that was coaching him. He said, man, if I lined up in the wrong area, I would almost be cut. I would think about getting cut because I wasn't lined up the right way. And this is just different philosophy that certain coaches have, okay? But he realized if he lined up, that could be his job, all right? Who's over on the hot seats with these guys? That's the thing about it. Is anybody being pressured by saying, hey, look, man, if you're not getting this thing right, we're going to sit you down for a week or 2 weeks, okay? Or we're going to demote you because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? I don't know what's going on with that. We can sit there and say the same thing with the enemy might have been the authoritarian, okay, of the group. We might be missing that. Maybe he's the guy that needed to bring stuff out of guys, okay? Because when you have somebody getting down your throat and telling you things, it changes. It changes. So some guys don't like it. Some guys, they thrive in it. And sometimes I think you need that. It's always like you got to be able to find your voice. But I think it would be wrong to put everything on the wide receiver coach. That is without a doubt on the player. And the player needs to understand how important that is. Now, here's the thing. If a guy is kind of laissez-faire about particular things, right? And let's just say MVS, and I'm not saying this is what happens. Let's just say MVS, who had been having a problem catching the football. Then why isn't MVS, the position coach, and maybe the backup quarterback is not out there throwing deep routes for another 15 minutes after practice or in between while the scout D is going? You should be out there right now on the sideline catching deep balls. That's what I'm talking about. Those are different things that a coach can do. Like, okay, hey, come over here real quick. Hey, coach, what's going on? Hey, I just want you to catch a couple balls, deep routes. All right, I'm gonna throw the ball this way, that way, this way. I want you to catch it. So these are things that the coach has to do because he has to find like what is going on with my guys, right? RH, he said this. I can't get to it in his comments, but it's what he was saying what Larry Kirksey said. Let me get to it. They've been talking. Kirksey said that when you turn on the tape as a wide receiver coach, you either see on the tape what you're letting happen or what you're coaching them to do. That's profound. And that is the truth. So if I'm letting something get away, right, like lining up off sides, why are you lining up off sides? I asked all the guys that I'm in a chat with, have you ever lined up off sides? Never. Across the board, never. Why is that happening? Right? Those things need to be corrected. And so when we sit there talking about things that need to be corrected, those things should have been corrected early on, right? And I think because they didn't address these situations earlier, right? Same thing with, bringing the guys in, okay? The guys that you're going to switch in and out. Like you have to have a rhythm. I get 7 wide receivers, man. Come on, where is it going to work at? Until you start realizing, hey, man, you know what? Maybe this might not be the best approach of doing things, right? Maybe we have a top 4 guys that we have, and then the other 2 maybe just rotate in somewhere else along the way. But that's all I was saying, because I want people to understand exactly how important a position coach is, and every coach on the team is. Okay, so like you were saying, the passing game coordinator. He is in there on 7-on-7. He is on there on team. He's in all those different times. Matter of fact, he'll come into the wide receiver group to talk to them about, hey, this is what I want you to do, right? And this is how I want you to do it. Now it's on the coach to take exactly what he said. He's writing everything down. They talked about it in the coaching meeting. This is what I want you to work on in practice. Okay. But that's the point I was making is the reason why we're in the film study more than we are on the football field is because we're trying to learn what it is that we're trying to do against these defenses. And defenses are so complex, they disguise in everything, how they play a player, that we got to make sure that we're on top of our thing week in and week out, right? And you even said it yourself. If Andy's deciding to change some things up, all he's doing, he's just refining things. He's just window dressing. Same plays, just window dressing, right? So guys could switch out. But if a guy's brilliant enough to understand this is what I'm trying to do with you, then if I put you at X receiver, but I want you to be over here in the middle on this particular play, then a guy needs to understand that. So that's all I would say. That's the point I wanted to make, because I didn't want nobody to downplay the importance of a position coach at all.
Right.
Shoot.
And we weren't. I mean, me personally, I'm not downplaying the importance of a position coach. What I was saying is that on a week in and week out basis during the season, when a guy like Marquez Valdez-Scantling is dropping passes that hit him in both hands over the middle, when he has, plenty of room to make that catch, right?
Yeah.
There is nothing that the coach can do, in my opinion, based on the things that I've seen, other than just getting in his ass, right? Like, there's nothing that coach can do that's going to fix that issue other than repetition and just purely fine-tuning that dude's skill set, right?
That's right.
MVS knows how to catch a football. He knows how to catch a football, right? We have Tyreek Hill, arguably the best receiver in the league. The dude body catches more than anybody else in the league. Tyreek Hill knows how to catch a football, but he does what works for him. Now, is the Dolphins wide receiver coach in there on a weekly basis saying, Tyreek, put your hands up, put your hands up like this, make a diamond, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's doing that. I think he knows that Tyreek Hill is a professional and, is doing what he does, because Tyreek Hill knows what to do. And to touch on what you were saying, Jason, is
well, hold
on.
Before you say that, I do believe the wide receiver coach is probably telling him that. He's probably telling him in traffic, you need to catch it with your hands, because when the ball comes into your body, you adjust in the air. So at a split second when you think you're securing, you're actually changing the trajectory of what you're catching the football. So I guarantee the wide receiver coach is telling him that. But go ahead.
And we've seen Tyreek drop passes because of that. We've seen it bounce off his chest and hit the ground, right? We see it happen all the time. My point is that he still does it because that's what he's comfortable doing. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing you were saying, Jason, back whenever you played, you're sitting here listening to the wide receivers coaches saying you're perceptive to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a rare trait. Not a lot of guys in the league. The great ones, all the great ones have that trait. They know exactly what Tyreek knows exactly what every single wide receiver is running on every single play, in every formation, everything. He knows, just like Travis Kelce knows where everybody is supposed to be at on the field, right? Not all these guys have that. And it's not something, it's kind of something that you develop on your own as you progress through your career, right? Because I'm sure you didn't have that whenever you came into the league right off the bat. It's something that you learned and developed on your own. And great wide receiver coaches will say, they'll instill that early in you and say, hey, let's work on this and be comfortable in any situation, know what everybody else on the field is doing, right? But at the same time, some guys just don't have that trait. They just don't have it.
So you don't think you could develop that?
I think you can develop it, but
So,
I think that for a lot of guys, either you have that intuition and that perception, or you don't.
no,
I don't think that if you don't have that capability, I mean, I think that it goes to an intelligence thing, right? And I don't want to say, this player's dumb. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a thing. Football IQ is a real thing.
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Some people just have a better football IQ than others.
Right.
And a guy like Tyreek Hill has some of the best football IQ, right?
Mm-hmm.
The dude just knows. Travis Kelce just knows. And he said that. He's like, I knew the second that, if it's an option route, right? And he's like, whenever I saw the safety drop and I knew this guy was running a dig route, he's like, I'm going to settle in this zone right here. And Mahomes is on the same page as that. Not everybody has that, And I don't think we can expect. It's not something, in my opinion, that a wide receiver coach can teach. Now they can,
maybe not, or maybe. So he'll say, okay, this is how I can help you understand what you're doing and how this is going to look, right? And so he'll go through X, Y, and Z, and he'll say, look, I want you to understand, right? Because as a coach, I'm like, I always say this to my players. I want to make you a smarter football player, okay? Not just a good player, an athletic player. I want to make you a smart football player so you understand what you're doing. So I would consider myself a good coach. You know why? Because I've been there. I've been in the NFL. I know what good coaches are, and I know what bad coaches are. I know if a bad coach is not communicating to his guys what he needs to do and what he's doing wrong, okay? Sometimes you got to over-communicate to guys. And so when you have guys, I think guys will develop into a much better player when they have a great coach that's helping them out. A younger coach who's still finding his voice, he may get there, okay? And so I think Connor's still on that journey of getting to that place, of teaching guys what he knows how to do, right? Greg Lewis, the way he's able to help out is because he played. He understands. He played is like, look, I was successful. I'm going to tell you why. You know why? I could tell you what you need to do and how you get a feel, because I got it wrong 100 times. I'm going to tell you exactly before you get it wrong 100 times. I'm going to tell you, after you get it wrong the 5th time, how the field's supposed to happen, okay? And so you develop those things. Those things have to be developed by the coach. And guess what? If they don't develop, guess what they do? They move on. We move on from you, right?
Yeah.
We move on from you. So it's like, hey, man, look, I've seen tons of talented guys, tons of them that have the talent to do whatever they want to do. 40 when it's vertical, whatever you name 4-2, can grasp what they need to do in the system.
Right.
And I get it.
Right.
Was it not important enough to him, or was it too late for him to really understand what it took to be in the NFL? Okay. Right. A good wide receiver coach will let them know immediately, hey, if you don't get this down, you will be gone next week. And I've heard them tell guys that as much.
Right.
You will be gone. I'm telling you. If you don't understand how to do this thing, if you don't get this thing right, you will be gone maybe tomorrow.
Right.
Because this thing is, man, it's a business. It is a production business, okay? It's all about producing. If you don't produce, guess what, man? You gone, baby. That's what it is. Tony runs bad routes. I'm not saying he doesn't get a feel. I think right now for him, it's just he's got the dropsies. right? He's trying to press because he knows he's only got a limited amount to do things. But he wants to show how much he can do because he has an ability. He can go hit his head on the goalpost. He knows he has that ability. He did it in Florida, okay? We've seen that even in Chiefs, just a little small sample size of what he's able to do. We have seen that. We have seen that. He wants to continue to do those things. He wants the cheers. He wants the pats on the back, right? He don't want to be the guy that, loses the game or lined up wrong. He don't want to be remembered as that guy. So sometimes what you end up doing is you put so much pressure on yourself to do everything right that you may press so much that you do things wrong. I know that. Why? Because I've lived it before. I've been there. Shoot, my second year in the league was one of the hardest years I ever had. Hardest years I ever had. You know what it took? It took a great coach to come to me and say, hey, Jason, I've seen you have a problem with this right here. Well, let's go work on it. So I would come in on Saturdays, during off season. People didn't know this, but his approach to me, and I even told him this. I told him later on at one of the coaching conventions, because we were both coaching in college at the time, Jim Bone. And I said, Coach, I just want to thank you right now. He said, for what? I said, Coach, you got my head back to what I needed to be to play in the NFL. I needed that. I needed it at the time. So,
JD, I do want to ask you, kind of going on that last week after the Bills game, Justin Watson was talking to the media, and he was talking because this receiver issue has been kind of an ongoing thing all throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you, is this more on the players or the coach? Watson said to the media, he said that this week all the receivers have been coming in early. Now, it seemed like, wait, this is only this week. It's week 14, and it's only leading into week 15. And only this week we're starting to come in early? You guys should be coming in early weeks ago. Now, is that a receivers coming together saying we need to come in early? Or is that a wide receiver coach saying they need to come in early? Because, when I heard that, I was like, wait, it's week 14. We've had this issue all throughout the season of, dropsies, being a miscommunication. Yeah. Is that kind of shocking as well?
That they're just now starting to come in?
Yeah, the fact that Watson's even saying week 50, going into week 15, we're coming in early. You guys should have been doing that for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, they should have been coming in. And the thing is, I think they want to get it right? And like I said, the only way you can rectify that is the ones that's in the building, the ones that's in that room. And so sometimes the players got to police the players, okay? Because everybody doesn't want to do it, right? Because if you want to be great, you got to do things to become great, right? That's the reason, like Jerry Rice, when Larry Kirk would talk about it, Jerry Rice would invite everybody to come and work out during the offseason with him. Why? Because he understood his workout was making him great. He wanted other people's to be able to get that too, right? He wanted that to be conducive to their success as well. And so some guys just couldn't hang. But Jerry put the work in. And so there was no issue as far as the things that he would do, as far as like his success. It wasn't a mystery why he was so good, right? So, but they should have been doing it weeks ago. I think sometimes they just didn't really perceive it being a problem. And sometimes you could do that, right? It's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. It's not going to be a big issue. And it just keeps happening. It's almost like you have water, right? That happens in your house. And it's just a little drip. You're like, okay, it's not a big deal. Well, then all of a sudden, this sucker starts dripping and it starts tearing things apart. And you see a bigger problem issue that's not on the surface. As soon as you take the molding off, there's mold everywhere, right? It's like, oh my gosh, what's been happening here? Well, we've allowed this problem to keep persisting, and nobody has said anything. And so when we're trying to fix it, it's going to cost us more because trying to fix this thing, as opposed to where we are now. And I would even say that, and y'all could disagree with me or not, but I think Veach and all those guys starting to understand maybe we bit off a little bit more than we could chew. And I said a part of it is there is a concern with being somewhat arrogant that you could like thinking, hey, we could get away with anything. Why? Because we got PM15 and we got Travis Kelce. So when you start thinking that, you think guys around him just going to be able to fit in and get things done. We've seen it's been a harder transition than what we expected. Okay. But Justin Watson saying those things that we've been coming in, because those guys realize, we're behind the 8 ball right here. Everybody's watching what we do. Okay. Everybody's watching. So we got to put in the work to get better. And I commend them on that. I don't care if it's late now or not. As long as they're getting the job done, getting the work in. And I said this, hopefully the work they're putting in right now will come to fruition. and we're going to see it in the playoffs, then now all of a sudden we're going to start clicking, right? I mean, that's what I see. So I'm not down on this wide receiver group as that. I'm just saying from what we was looking at the development, it's been a slow process. It's been a slow process. It's painstakingly slow. And because we just want everything right now. But I know. Go ahead.
I'll say the things that the issues that the wide receivers have had, other than, player so-and-so not bending his route the way that he needs to bend his route, or, player so-and-so not using his leverage the way that he's supposed to use it. And, Pat overthrows him or underthrows him a little bit, or not settling into their zone, especially the drops. These are issues that they can fix, right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen anything really so far that are issues that they can't fix.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to your Tony thing, Tony's issue right now is just that he can't catch the football all the time.
Right.
And we knew he had these issues. You've probably seen the Senior Bowl clip where he just absolutely annihilates a dude's ankles on I think it was a corner route. I can't really remember, but he runs the route and the dude, he just straight up drops the ball. I mean, there's no one within 25 yards of him. He just drops the ball. We knew he had these issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they've never been this bad, this consistent. So hopefully, like you said, it's clear that, they still have faith in this dude. They come out every week. He still plays, and we don't know. I mean, apparently he's performing in practice, because if he's out there dropping every other pass in practice, they're not going to put him out there. So, at least in my opinion, I don't know. Maybe you can speak on that if a guy's struggling in practice the way that he's struggling in games, that, they are a little bit more severe with their punishment snap-wise. But fortunately, I mean, I think these are issues, like you said, that are definitely fixable, and that, they can go into playoffs, with some confidence. And, we can start using these guys. We can start using MVS on those deep balls. We can start using Tony, on these back shoulders and, these out routes and stuff. Especially like Rashee Rice, we can start using Rashee Rice in those jump ball situations. Maybe we start using him in those more comfortable situations, and, kind of dabble in those things that they're not as comfortable with in the playoffs, as opposed to so prominently using them outside of their comfort zone during the regular season. So hopefully, I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. All we can do is basically hope for it right now. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of issues. I don't think Connor is, at fault as much as people portray him to be. I don't know where that narrative came from. I mean, we none of us know. We're not in the room. We don't know what he's teaching. We don't know what he's coaching. We haven't seen any player come out and say, even give us a hint that Connor's not doing the right things. We haven't seen any of the coaches say that, other than the fact that we just...
Well, they're not. Nobody's going to say that.
Exactly, right. So for us to just jump to the conclusion as fans that, he's just sitting there sucking his thumb in the film room, which, believe it or not, that is a major, like, that is what people think he's doing, essentially. Obviously being dramatic, but they think he's a bum, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't, nobody knows. Like, we don't know what the issues are. So
what we do, we see the product, right? And everybody's
right.
making an assessment off the product that we see on the film week in, week out, right? And then you just make your opinion based off of that. Okay. I'm just saying, as for guys that have been in rooms, that played in the NFL, we understand those relationships. We understand that sometimes, it could be two things could be true, three things. It could be a lot of different things, different reasons why these things happen. Same thing with Pat, maybe not having the trust with MVS and those guys. So if he loses trust in those guys, because Andy's like, I'm telling Patrick, just trust these guys. Just trust them. You still got to throw the ball to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still got to throw the ball. So I agree with you. Okay. And I'm going to say it.
We've seen Pat look off wide open receivers on a regular occasion. He'll have MVS wide open down the middle of the field, and he will flip backside. I mean, play side. It should be his first read. and he's flipping backside, you know, or whatever the situation may be. I mean, we've seen that all year long, and you know, people start tweeting, no, like he had MVS right open down the seam or whatever. Like, so like you said, I don't think he has full trust of these guys, and you know, in a situation like that, is he distrusting of them because they can't catch the football, or is he distrusting them because he doesn't think that they know what they're doing? You know,
so when I say trust, I think it is like being on the same page for them to do, right? Because I sent a still picture of MVS ran a 10-yard out, and Pat threw back shouldered him because he wanted to hold up from the safety. The thing is, the ball should have been out of Patrick's hands before MVS got out of the break. Yep. I mean, that's easy. That's an easy read. That's an easy read. And so when I say everybody has a hand in this, that means PM15 too.
Right.
So this is a perfect storm. It ain't just a receiver, it's PM15, because we know he likes chunking it down the field. The 5-yard out ain't sexy to him. It ain't throwing to the flat is not sexy. Okay. He wants to make the difficult throws. He want to push the ball down the field. Okay. He's a creature of habit, you know, because he's the most electrifying quarterback in the NFL right now. Okay. He likes electrifying plays. And so sometimes they had to tell him, hey, man, take the check down. Just take it. We'll take the 5 yards, let him go get 10 and 12. And we'll line back up. We'll take a shot if we need to. Okay. But we don't need for everything to be deep. I even said that sometimes some of the routes early on were not crisp routes. Some of the out routes, you're putting your foot
rounding them off.
Yeah, rounding them off. Bad routes. I'm talking about bad routes. Me as a wide receiver coach, I would be ballistic. And I will put this on film like, what are we doing? What is this? Like, we're not teaching this. And if we are, we need to correct it right now. So guess what I would do? I go out and practice. We're going to run out routes after practice until we get it right. If it's just one guy that's getting it wrong, guess what? I'm going to keep you out to practice. Everybody else break. Yeah, hey, you stay right here. JD, you stay right here for a second. What's going on, coach? We're going to work on this out route. That's what we're going to work on. That's what's going on. How about that? But I just want to say this.
Just quick question before we get off the topic. What role do you think Pat has in that accountability? He knows these guys are rounding off the routes. You see him get onto these guys as soon as the play is over, right? At practice, what role does Pat have in saying, you know, and I know he's got to go watch his own film. I know he's got to go do his own thing with the quarterback group. And we know Richie James, MVS, Rice, all these guys work with Pat in the offseason. They were all there. But what role does Pat have on a practice-to-practice basis during the week in season with saying, hey, you know, get your ass out here. Let's run 50 routes, extra routes, and make sure we get these out routes right. Let's make sure that against this coverage that we're running the right route, right?
Yeah.
What role does he have in that, in your opinion, from when you played?
Pivotal role. I mean, you know, he's the one. He's a facilitator. So if he feels like a guy's not getting it, he'll ask maybe 2 defensive guys, hey, look, let's give him a man in his own read. Okay. And so when a guy runs out, let him read what it is. Okay. I don't want you to show until at the very last second what to do. And so Pat to get out there and say, hey man, let's run a couple of these routes. Let's get the feel for this thing. Okay. So because he's relying on these guys to be where he's asking them to be. And so it's vital, man. It's important. It's important that Patrick's on these guys. And he also has to look in the mirror to make sure he's on point too.
Are you concerned that that's not happening, or are you concerned that it is happening? They're doing it at practice, because this is my thing. I think they're doing it. I think they're working on it. I think they're getting it right. I think that on game day, they lack the focus to go out there and implement the things that they work on a week-to-week basis, or they're stretched too thin playbook-wise, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but they're going out there and because I refuse to believe that Pat's just letting this shit slide in practice. Refuse.
Right.
I refuse to believe that Andy Reid is letting that shit slide. I refuse to believe that, you know, with the O-line, that Andy Heck, who is arguably one of the best O-line coaches in the league and has been for 20 years, sits there and watches film and doesn't tell Jawan Taylor that he's jumping, whether you believe he's jumping or not, which I don't really think he is jumping. Everybody does it, but that's another topic of discussion. That he's not sitting there and saying, "Hey, Jawan, make sure you're, giving it a little extra second so that you're not getting flagged."
Yeah.
He keeps getting flagged. He keeps getting flagged over and over and over again. Right?
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that those things are not happening in the film room, on the practice field, and in the locker room on game day, pregame, whatever. I think it's just not getting implemented on game day. And that's why I believe that it's a personnel problem.
Well, here's the difference. Practice and game are two different things.
Of course.
High anxiety to where practice is, you can go through and you can make mistakes. But when the whole world is watching you, Twitter's coming at you, you got all type of people coming at your throat. That's a very scary place to be.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that because it is a high performing business. It's almost like you're the high wire act and you got to get it right. So if you fall, man, everybody's going to see it. Okay. And I guarantee, and I know this, when that ball's coming in the air and you're the last one, you can almost see the ball coming to you. Your anxiety just went up by 10, over 100. And you're like, please do not drop this ball. Please do not drop this ball. Yeah. And guess what? Next thing you know, you drop it.
You drop it. Right.
And now you got to pick yourself up from this failure. Okay. And it's been happening. We've seen the frustration when Pat was sitting there saying, what else can I do? Right?
Yeah.
When Bear's Tony, he's like, man, what else can I do? And so he knows there's nothing more he can do. It's got to be on the guy to get those things done. He can almost go and the only other thing he can do is walk to him and hand the ball to him. Okay?
Right.
That's the only other thing he's to do. But I do believe I have seen progress. I've seen where the routes have become crisper. I have seen where the guys are on a different page. I have seen the tempo of particular routes become better. I've seen all those things. I've seen all those things have improved. They have improved. I could see it because I played the game and I could tell, okay, this is, these guys are starting to get it. Now, it's not perfect, but they have been getting better from where they were 4 weeks ago. That's for sure.
Right. Right.
We just want it to be perfect. We want it to be perfect. Look, ebb and flow in games, guys drop passes all the time in the NFL. Ours are just amplified because we're leading the NFL in it. We did so much of it early on that now you drop a pass like, oh, here we go again. Oh my gosh, here it is. So that's the picture that we're looking at. That's the problem we're looking at. So, man, I know. We talked about this, this is a greatest show, man. I wanted to get on a greatest show, but I just wanted to kind of talk on it. So I'm gonna say this real quick, and this is in TV land. If the wide receivers are listening, I don't know who's catching this, but I'm gonna say to them is this: y'all guys keep working, okay? Y'all keep working until y'all get these things right. Fans are behind you. Don't listen to the noise of the one that's being disparaging to you, negative to you. Don't listen to the criticism. Y'all hold on to each other. Y'all keep getting the job done. And I don't care if it takes y'all coming in early. I'm not telling you something y'all don't already know. Coming in early, working harder after practice, talking to each other, going to eat with Patrick Mahomes, going out to his house, coming there, sleep on his couch like Rashee Rice did early in the season. I don't care what it takes. And I know y'all understand y'all don't care what it takes either. Okay? So whatever y'all need to do to get this thing right, it's only going to take y'all in that room to make it happen. It's not going to take us sitting here talking about it and being critical and talking about these things. Y'all got to take care of it yourself. And I don't care if it's a coach y'all need to get together. Y'all do that too. And I know Connor, look, hey, man, get these guys together. Come from good stock, and I know that, okay? You're going to be a hell of a coach. You keep coaching these guys up and keep coaching them hard. Same thing with Nagy and Andy. Y'all stay on these guys. Y'all keep supporting them. Travis, PM15, O-line, everybody, defense, the entire team, put your arms around the wide receiver. If the guys are over struggling, y'all know y'all pick up the slack. That's the way it works. So I just want to keep telling them that, keep encouraging them. And I know they get a bad rap, man. But my thing is, I'm not here for it, man. I'm here for them to get better. I have hope in them just getting better week in and week out, right? Week in and week out. Go ahead. You got something? I want you to go ahead and say what you had to say real quick, man. Have you the last word on this?
No, nothing, man. I'm 100% in agreement with what you're saying. I think fans are the loudest people, and that's why they're called fans, right? Fanatics. And they're going to speak their mind and do whatever, and they're well within their right to do that.
Yes.
I just think that if we know anything as fans, being fans of the Kansas City Chiefs over the last 5 or 6 years, and those of us that have been fans since we were born, right? This current iteration of the Chiefs, if we know anything, we got to trust that they're going to figure it out, right? We got to trust that they're going to figure it out. If they don't figure it out, end of the year, all right, let's figure it out next year. And that's what we got to do, right? I think that we need to take a step back as fans and look at the bigger picture. We got to believe that the guys, the players, the coaches, everything are doing their jobs, right? And I do believe that they're all doing their jobs. I think that whenever it comes to game day, that there's just a disconnect. The pressure's on them. They have built up so much pressure on themselves all season long with the drops, with the stupid errors, with everything, that they are just pressing so hard every time the ball is thrown their way. We've seen a guy like Rashee Rice respond. We've seen him respond to that pressure. The dude dropped 4 passes in one preseason game, pretty much back to back to back to back. He responded. Now we got to see these other guys respond. And, we've seen MVS step up in big moments. We've seen Richie James be a key player on a not good football team in New York, right? We know he can do that. We've seen Kadarius Toney put up 165 or 175 yards in one game in New York. We know they can all do it. We've seen them all do it. We've seen them all do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a matter of everybody getting on the same page at the same time. Not Watson and Richie on the same page one game and everybody else off. We need everybody on the same page at the same time, and we just got to believe that they're going to pull it together. And I think they will. I think they'll pull it together. Playoff football is different football. That's just where I'm at, man. And I hate the scapegoat game. It's if it's not Nagy one week, it's Embry, and then if it's not Embry, it's the players, and if it's not the players, then it's Andy, and whatever, right? If it's not them, it's all Veach. Veach is the the big culprit, right? He allowed this to happen. These guys know what they got. Veach knows what they've got in the locker room. Andy knows what they've got. If they felt the need to go out and get DeAndre Hopkins, which maybe they tried to go get DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know. If they felt they needed him, they would have gone out and got him. They know how to build a Super Bowl winning team. Okay? You know that. I know that. Everybody that's listening to this knows that these guys know how to build a Super Bowl winning team. Now it's just a matter of putting it all together on game day, right? And getting the job done. And I believe they'll do that. So that's where I'm at. That's my final thought.
Okay. Yeah. Well said, man. I think we'll see what this thing is probably going to become, right? And I said this to Marcus. Nobody wants to see us in the playoffs. Nobody wants to see the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I know they was talking, trying to say is it a little bit of Super Bowl what'd you say? What's Super
Bowl hangover?
Dynasty fatigue.
Hangover. Yeah, dynasty. I don't believe that. I believe that a lot of it is, when you have such young guys, and Mike Brennan made a very good point. He said our young DB started locking it down around this time last year. And it's the same thing. They had to develop as well too. So I'm gonna remain confident in that. And so I think we're going to see a different picture playoff time. We're just hoping we'll see a much more complete game out of that group these next couple of weeks. Okay, the next couple of weeks. But yeah, man, I think there's a lot of different things there, right? And I think it could be week after week. It could be different ones. It could be maybe Nagy here, maybe the tempo here, maybe all these little things, right? And it's just all as a compilation of things, right? But we get out our own way, man. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine, man. Look, brother. Look, I appreciate everything you do, man. I love watching your Twitter, man, and getting on the site talking about things. You got some really good stuff, man. I love engaging with you. Because man, you do a great job. There's a lot of people I follow on Twitter, man. You're one of the guys, and I get a lot of stuff from, and I appreciate you seriously, and I appreciate you coming on the show, man, to kind of talking about this, right? Like you said, it wasn't like a got you or not a win. We ain't talking about that. I like clarity because people may not understand how things work in the NFL, like behind the scenes, and I'm like, well, not quite. Like we got to understand, what things are, right? But I'm like you. I don't like the blame game at all. I don't like it either, right?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. And like I said, it's all love, man.
Yes,
I know people get mad on Twitter, but at the end of the day, I'll come on here and chop it up with you guys. And I don't know what a lot of people know football wise. And for the most part, I try not to speak on things that I don't feel like I know. But at the same time, I'm gonna speak my mind like everybody else on Twitter is gonna speak their mind. So that's what I'm gonna do. And at the end of the day, like I said, man, we weren't having a spat or a disrespectful argument. And I hope that anybody that comes at you or comes at me or whatever can chop it up and be respectful and have a conversation like that without throwing out crazy stuff. So
right,
that's it.
Yeah. Well, man, appreciate you, brother, man. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give these teams a grade real quick, and do that, man. Maybe we have you on a different time, man. Seriously, but
y'all hit me up anytime. Y'all hit me up anytime.
Sounds good, brother.
Appreciate it, man. It was good to finally see a face behind
definitely.
Arrowhead Live.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
All right, brother. All right, be well.
Bye.
That was a nice little debate there, JD. I think you showed people online that you can disagree as far as Twitter comments and actually be cordial with each other. I think a lot of people need a little Twitter etiquette when it comes to that stuff because a lot of people go. I mean, you and I have had arguments with people online on Twitter where it gets things go south pretty quickly, and so it was nice.
Yeah. No, respectful discourse, man. But I think because we're so passionate about, and I love this fan base so much because we're passionate about it. That when you have people who are talking things and you're talking things out, you see the commonality of what you believe, and then the commonality is the Chiefs, man. We want the Chiefs to win. We want the Chiefs to win, and so we could try to dissect and diagnose what issues and problems are, but end of the day, man, it's going to take those guys. And so if I know the guys in the room are the ones that's getting it done, I got to be the support of those guys. Okay, I can't go the other route with it. Oh, you're a bum on it, and all of that, and I don't think Arrowhead Live, he was doing those things either, man. He's a hell of a fan, man. He's got a great base and stuff like that, man. So we stay positive with it all the time. You know what I mean? Not saying that we not criticize particular things, but yeah.
I think we did a good job unmasking Arrowhead Live, and that there he is right there. We got to see the face behind the really popular.
Wizard of Oz, he wrote.
I think Keys said that earlier.
yeah, I did. I seen that. Yeah, Keys is funny, man. Keys, man, you're a funny guy, brother. But I'll go through this real quick. As far as grades, I'm gonna go
do it, baby.
Okay, all right. So I gave the wide receivers just with the drops and whatnot, what they had, man. I gave them a C. We know these guys are going through a rough patch. There were some bright spots, obviously with Rashee Rice catching 9 balls, getting up the field, scoring a touchdown. But I gave him a C because of the drops and some things we still are looking for him to get better. But that's where I'm at with them. I gave him a C.
And we got help. And we got help on the way, baby. We got help on the way with this guy.
We'll see, Marcus. We'll see. All right. I can't wait. I'll be looking like, oh, what's going on? What's happening?
Could you imagine if he scores a touchdown on Christmas? I mean, it's gonna be a Merry Rossmas to everybody.
Oh, geez, that's
all a good night. I want to ask you, JD, when you guys were talking about that, I didn't want to interrupt you guys. It was a good debate you guys were having back and forth.
Yeah.
So we used to have Greg Lewis, and there's a receiver. There's a receiver who's a coach of the squad, Todd Pinkston.
Yeah.
RB's coach, but he was a long time NFL wide receiver. And do you think there's an element of, and it's also just a question to you, when you had questions for receivers could go talk to their RB's coach, and how much input do you think he's having with Embry, who is a first-year coach? Maybe he's going to Todd about stuff. And how much input do you think Todd Pinkston is really having with the wide receivers? Because, I mean, the guy played in the NFL for a very long time. Yeah.
I'm sure he's helping out. I'm sure he's probably giving them keys and points. What you don't want to do is you don't want to intervene on a guy, okay? You don't want to overstep your boundaries because you got your own guys, okay? You're coaching the running backs, coach the running backs. But if coach says, hey, coach, if you need any help in anything, I'm here. If you want to help guys, and maybe when a guy comes back, Todd might be like, hey, on this route, I want you to think on particular things, what to do. And he's like, yeah, coach, but he said, well, what are your wide receiver coach telling you? So we'll go to that. Because you don't want to be the guy to come in like, well, Coach Pinkston told me that. No, oh, really? Coach Pinkston told you to do this. That's the thing you don't want to get in the middle of those things. So you got to let a coach do what he needs to do. And if he asks for help or he asks for some input, then you give it to him. So that's how it works.
Just a question I had because we have
receiver
who was in the league for a long time. So
yeah, very, very good question. And some guys have egos. It's like, well, why are you messing with my guy? And that's pettiness. If you're doing that, because they're all your guys. They're all your guys. Okay, that's how it works, man. They're all your guys. So O-line, I gave the O-line a C+. That's what I gave him. Could have did a much better job. It got more pressure on Patrick than what we needed. Wanya Moore's legs, his feet are still a little heavy. Got up underneath him a few times, and he's going to struggle. He's still developing, man. And I'm going to say this. Wanya is going to be a great tackle for us in the future, but I wouldn't mind Donovan getting back soon, getting healthy and coming back. So, until he works back into where he is healthy, I think Donovan gets back and starts. But Wanya is a great feel. He's getting better. This experience has been great for him because he's going to see some pass rushers, man. I'm telling you, the things he hasn't seen. And so imagine his development because he hadn't really seen any of those things, up until now of having game experience, right? Game hours. So he's going to get better. Trey had a rough night. He had a rough time getting tossed around a little bit. Same thing, getting pushed back. So they got a good D-line, man. They got a good defense. And that's what's been keeping them in the games, to be honest with you. When I was going back through, I'm looking at the scores and stuff. I'm like, this defense has been stout.
Yeah.
So we need to understand. But C+ for the O-line. Tight ends, I gave a B. Travis, catching the balls that he did. Noah getting into the catching one deep. Blake, come on. Come on, tight end. Come on, Blake. Oh, don't let them suckers pull that ball from you. You're supposed to be fighting for that joker. Good play on that, the defender, though. But blocking, they did a good job. Pretty decent job. I was watching them kind of down the field. I gave my guys a B. B-. That's where I am. B-, shoot. Because I'm looking at a couple of these boxes, B-. That's what I gave them. All right.
Some would say Zach Ertz would have made that grab that Blake Bell let get away from him.
Yeah, probably could have. That probably been it. He probably got hurt after that. Nah, I'm just messing.
No, you're probably right. Yeah, no, you're probably right.
Yeah. Running back, CH coming in, having a heck of a game, making a catch, going up in the elevator, they said, to get that ball. And so, like I said, man, I was looking at it. He didn't really have 2 consecutive rushes. We kind of went away from it when, even if it was like 1st and 5, we were still throwing the football. So I think he did a masterful game by CH, man. It's great to see him. McKinnon doing a good job like he did. CH almost got Patrick killed when he had a blitz, I think, from the safety that came up, or it was nickel back. And CH almost missed him. He just got enough of him, but Pat had to get the ball, get rid of it soon, and Travis caught it. And CH kind of got after himself on that. But I gave these guys a B+. B+ for those dudes, for the running backs, man. B+. QB, PM15. He had laser focus this week. little frustrated, and I know he was kind of trying to watch himself, things that he was doing. But he did a good job, kind of getting the ball out of his hand, throwing the ball down the field, trying to create a few things. But I gave him a B-. I gave Pat a B. I think I've been a little hard on him, but B- with this one because he went against a good defense. Belichick was going to make sure, like, look, we're going to try to do whatever we can to get after Patrick. And so I think Pat did a good job kind of divvying up the football to different guys. So I gave him a B-. Defensive side. D-line. D-line. I gave these guys a C. Just a solid C. Nadi come in with a sack. Good job, Nadi. We have a hard time with our forward getting home. We have a very rough time with our forward getting home. And that is something we need to get better at. We're very good when we bring the blitz, and where we don't know where they don't know where the blitz is coming from. And that's where the D-line kind of generates. We know Chris always comes in. Been watching him a little bit, kind of slow down somewhat. He's just getting worn out. They just trying to double team him, trying to get him frustrated. I know he gets tired. The suckers holding him. They're not making any calls, man. I know he's frustrated. So shoot, what do you do? But I got defensive line at C for their effort. Still need some more from the other guys, man. You come in and you're a reserve. You need to come in and make your presence known. So D-line, I gave him a C. That's where I'm at. Okay. Linebackers. Good to see Bolton out there. Gay got beat over the top with Hunter Henry. Other than that, I think they were pretty solid. I was really watching them, what they were reading, get into the lanes. Did a good job kind of bottling up the running backs. Tough, man, get you one-on-one with a running back or trying to run with a receiver. So that's a tough thing for them. But seeing Drew come in and get a sack, Chanel coming in and getting some pressure, they do a great job of finding lanes to try to get to the quarterback. I love that. Willie Gay did a pretty good job, but like I said, he got beat on one. But I gave my linebackers a B. I don't think they did anything that was terrible. They made some good plays and made up for it. Some of the things that they kind of lacked in that game. Cornerbacks and safeties. Justin Reed came down, made a lot of hits. I love how he's playing right now and how he's hitting guys. And I knew what ended up happening. They're gonna start attacking our weakness, and our weakness is covering tight ends, wide receivers, and so that's what they wanted to do. That's what they wanted to accomplish, and they did it. Hunter Henry came and had a huge game against us, but they did a good job. And I think a lot of it is if you give, and Zappy, he got a pocket the first half.
Yeah.
It was giving him time to throw. And what happens on man-to-man, if you give anybody time to throw, you cannot cover that whole field. And they run in pick routes, a lot of short routes, mesh. And so Mario Davis was getting open. Devontae Parker, he caught a couple of footballs. So we were chasing guys because we just weren't getting any pressure on Zappy early on. So Spags was like, okay, we need to bring a little bit more pressure with 5. Bring a little bit one more than they can block. And that changed the whole trajectory of what they was doing and getting the ball out. So good on Spags making that change. But the DBs is always in a position to make plays, make tackles. And that's another good thing. So good job on them. And I gave those guys, a B-. B- is what I gave them. Okay. Yeah.
The one play I had a picture here is that one play where it looked like they had kind of like the stretch play to the end zone, but Snead came up, man, and they kind of they didn't allow that to happen. I mean, I gotta say the tackling, especially our DBs, if you saw from Reed laying the wood out there. I mean, every time Hunter Henry got the ball, he got nailed. It was like 3-1 hobble.
Yeah. What? I'm telling you, I'm hitting him. Hunter Henry was like, oh my gosh, these suckers out here. And then I remember I heard the commentators like, there's some hitting going on in this game.
Yeah.
There's some hitting going on. So, you're commentators saying they know it is. So, teeth rattling.
Yeah.
That was good. So, you make a sucker pay for it. You don't catch a football, I'm going to make you pay. So, good job, man, by Reed coming up, hitting guys.
Did you think that one, the one where we challenged it and it was an incomplete pass? I thought Henry caught that ball. It was the one where he kind of put the ball down because he hurt his leg. I thought he caught that. I was surprised they overturned that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. He was – how many times did he go out of the game? That joker, man, he went out about 3 times, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just like every catch he made, he was hurt.
Yeah, he was hobbling, man.
Honey Henry is down on – he's going in the blue tent. I'm like, Dad, when he's going to surrender? You go in there and get some of this. He tell the Gasecki, they hitting in there. I don't know. Button your chin strap up. So, yeah. But I do see strides. I see positive things on offense. We just got to get better at eliminating the turnovers, doing everything right. We need to just focus up, man. We just need to focus up. So I don't care if we keep going back to the drawing board. I love to hear that they're coming in early and they're staying late, doing what they need to do to get this job done because it's on them, man. It's on them. Defense keep doing their job, keep bringing the pressure. I think our defense is going to carry us through to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I do believe that. And our offense is going to, when the time is needed, they're going to be right there with them when they're calling on it to make plays. So.
Yeah, I think as much as people want to look at the negatives, obviously Tony's drops, the fumbles, I think this is a positive step. I mean, New England's defense at Foxborough, a defense that has been, I think, what was the team's been averaging 8 points against in the last 4 or 5 games. I mean, it's a good defense. A lot of people thought it was going to be a struggle for us to score. We could have scored. I mean, it should have been 34-0, but at the end we were a classy organization. We kneeled the ball at the 3-yard line.
Of course,
took the turnover on down. Classy,
sure.
I think Belichick back in the day would have scored that just to have the points over the other team, but not us. We didn't do that. But at the end of the day, that's 27 points. We could have 34, and then not to mention all the other times we could have scored in that game. So it was a positive step. It seems like we're getting our personnel groupings down offensively. CH is carving out a role. And I'm curious to see how we keep CH implemented with Pacheco coming back this week. I think with Pacheco's injuries, I think we still need to have a healthy dose more so of CEH to kind of keep Pacheco healthy for the stretch run to the playoffs.
Absolutely. I agree with you. It wouldn't make any sense to have him come in and get the whole lion's share and the brunt of what we're doing, right? Working back in. Okay. We know that we clearing that shoulder out. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to bring him in and get him hurt again, right? Being an issue and a problem. So CH has earned it right. We know McKinnon is as solid as ever. We got 2 capable guys. That position we don't worry about whatsoever at all, right? We don't. So we're going to be fine, man. We're going to be fine.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting week. Christmas, we play the Raiders. So for the scheduling for the Chief Concern show, so Wednesday, we'll have a noon show on Bleacher Report. So you got guys can come on the Bleacher Report live at noon. JD and I will be previewing the upcoming game, the Christmas Day game against the Raiders. So yeah, guys, come hit us up at noon on the Bleacher Report app. And then for those guys who can't get on at noon, we'll have this on our channel later on in the day. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it, engaging with y'all.
Real quick, go for KC forever. What did you think that pass interference on Rice? Bad call. The reason was because the safety was coming down probably in a robber position. Rasheed Rice wasn't even the guy he was going to go rub. It wasn't. So it was a bad call. Referee doesn't know that. He just sees a collision. He knocks him over. Oh, offensive pass interference. So it was a bad call.
And I do think I tweeted about this earlier. If Tony catches that ball, that gives him confidence and kind of positivity to start that game out. They take that thing away. I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously we don't know. We don't know. No one can tell his fortune here. But he catches that ball at 15-yard gain right there. I mean, he's feeling good about himself. They take that thing and they negate that like they did last time he touched the ball. They negated that. Right away, that's where that kind of the dropsies and all that stuff kind of gets in your head at that point.
Well, it's still giving confidence because he caught it.
That's true.
So,
but I mean, you think about it. Last 2 times I touched the ball, they negate it. My touchdown last week, they get it out. That one, they get it out. I mean,
hey, Marcus, look, I'm looking for small victories. If I'm up with little small victories, I don't care what it is. Small victories work, and I'm gonna build on each and every one. Okay. Probably part of it was lined up correctly. Oh, they throw a flag. Oh, perfect. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's bid on that. Let's bid on that one, right?
Like the Bob Wiley. What about Bob? Baby steps. Baby steps.
Baby steps, baby. Baby steps. Man, shout out to everybody showing up tonight, watching us run our mouth. I'm sorry that took a long time talking about that whole issue of how things kind of work in the locker room. And even so, we don't quite know the whole dynamics of who's saying what, whatever. But it is important that we still continue to show support for these guys. That's very important. Those guys do see that, and they're very showing a lot of gratitude because of the support that you show. So I'll keep it up, man.
It was a great conversation.
It was.
Yeah, I'm gonna after this episode, I gotta get back to my house, and it's dark over there. Power is not restored. That's why, if you guys are noticing, I kind of a different set today. If you noticed this, I'm at my brother's house, right in front of their fireplace over here. They have this crazy. He's a Raiders fan, but he has the Justin Ross. It's beginning to look a lot like Rossmas here. I don't know. I'm gonna leave that for him.
There you go. Good deal.
But all right, everybody. So we'll see you guys at noon on Bleacher Report. Come on in, of course, with your questions and engagement. And we'll try to answer all your questions like usual. JD, love you, brother. Enjoy the Monday night game.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all, fellas, ladies, all of y'all. Y'all have a good one. See y'all later.
See you, everybody. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcast.